Sessionomics fundamentally is using economics to organize a sesh. This is what it's today about. And in this case, hopefully by the end of today's talk, you'll find something new that you can hopefully use going forward. Types of sesh. If anybody goes to the gym, you can have a gym sesh. If you like computer gaming, a gaming sesh. If you like a chill sesh, just kicking back, relaxing, going to a TED talk, you could be in a chill sesh right now. We're in a chill sesh perhaps as well. And then a study sesh, because I am an academic weapon, according to my students. Their quotes, not mine. The last one we'll go through today, naturally, of course, is the drinking sesh. So there is going to be a little bit of alcohol here, but again, there's non-alcohol variations going all the way through. This, just fundamentally, as another disclaimer, this is not about the promotion of alcohol. This is a promotion of having a good time with your friends. So, first graph. I love graphs, by the way. I'm an economist. What do you expect? This line shows you something. What does it show you? On the x-axis, we've got alcohol by volume as percentages. On the y-axis, we've got money, Great British pounds. This line shows you the minimum unit pricing of alcohol in Wales, in this case. It is priced at 50p per unit. So as you go through, what I'd like to say, first of all, if it's above the line, you're good. If it's below the line, it is illegal. It's not allowed, okay? If you see any of that, probably report it to the legal authorities, okay? As you go through, you might have some lager, stouts, ales, wines, liqueurs, and then spirits. Normally, everybody goes, oh, but why, Bruce, why does the line go on so high? And then initially, the line only went to about 70% and 76%. I then went full nerd on this and found that the most alcoholic beverage you can have in the entire world is a Polish vodka. Disclaimer, do not buy this. Please, I beg you not to. Going through, we've now gone through the types of alcohol that you can now have in this case, but we want to actually optimize the sesh. So in this case, you're on a sesh with your sesh friends. You might be partial to a beer or a beverage. How can we find that optimum going forward? Shout out to one of the collaborators from the States. His name is Jonathan Cernak, and he runs a company called Beer Darts. I'm not going to explain what it is, but essentially he goes through the concept called the OBL, the Optimum Beer Level.
Your optimal beer level, or OBL, is a number specific to you between 1 and too many beers that results in peak performance. What is your OBL?
But that is Jonathan, a very good friend of the sesh, collaborated with me. He has defined the OBL going through, okay? So in this case, I've taken his OBL, I've developed it. So in this case, optimum beer level goes into peak performance, okay? Myself, I go more nerdy on this. I take my sessionomic take, I go, what are the actual variables at play? So if you're on a night out, you're on a sesh, you need to have your utility. Utility simply means your satisfaction level. And then we'll go for beverages consumed, but again, some people generally don't consume beer, and that's absolutely fine. So I've changed it just from beer to beverages, and we'll go through that again in a slight second. Naturally, peak performance is Jonathan Cernak's variation. I like to say it's the get giddy coefficient, and you'll understand what that means just a second or two. So we're taking the OBL level. Just again, I like to map things to graphs. On the x-axis, we've got the amount of beverages consumed per hour. Not just beers, it can also be coffee. And very, very recently, the best suggestion I've ever had is milk. If you like your milk, you might like more milk, simple as that. On the y-axis here, we've got you're happy, you're above the x-axis. If you're sad, you're below it. That is your happiness kind of scale, developing from the optimum beer level. We take his initial curve from 1 to too many beverages, and we map in his peak performance like so. That is the optimum beer level mapped to a graph for you, okay? I take his beer level, I map it to the beverage level. Naturally, I put the gold standard in there. That is your giddy coefficient going through. Very simple. That is where you're kind of vibing, you're buzzing. Again, we bring back in Cernak's peak performance, and then I'll bring in a bit more economics for you. Diminishing sessionomic returns, also known as diminishing marginal utility principles, okay? This is when you keep going forward, you hit your peak performance, and then every unit you consume after starts to actually add more satisfaction. So naturally, you're on your sesh, you're drinking sesh of your coffee, your milk, or perhaps your beers. You go, green means go, red naturally means stop, okay? Hit your peak performance and try and stay at peak performance. That's what we're always trying to do in terms of our optimization. And as always, I put a gold smiley on there because getting giddy is the way to go forward, in my humble opinion. We are in the Northern Hemisphere, okay? That'll come back up in just a little second. You've gone through your green, you're into your red, and then this purple line that I had to change the name of, shout out to the Students' Union, is now known as the liability line. This is where you and your friends go past your peak, you keep consuming, and then like many an Aberystwyth student, you might think you're now Batman and want to go swim in the ocean and perhaps do some naughty things that you shouldn't do. So naturally, do not get to the liability line. Be a valued member of society, of course. This is where it gets even sillier. Have some friends of the sesh from down under. So we're going to now add in the Aussie OBL. A friend of the sesh called Morgan is currently doing some gap years studying down under. He went to me, basically, flip the curve. It will make sense to you. Go from basically you're not having very many beers or having a lot of beers. Your Giddy coefficient stays the same. Your peak performance shifts out to the right. And basically, what you then have something known as the schooner effect. And apparently a schooner, due to the hotter climate, is about a 2/3 of the size pint of beer. Green means go, so you have obviously not very many schooners or a hell of a lot of schooners. And then red means stop. But as you can tell, that one's just for fun and it's very, very silly. Okay? Simple as that. Right, that's all your OBLs done. Optimum beveraging levels, brilliant. That's one way to optimize. But how do you actually truly optimize a social in this case? Firstly, how do you actually start a social event? It's a bit of a trick question. It's 5 p.m. somewhere in the world is the classic way to start a sesh. Hopefully the older population will understand that. Currently it's about 5-ish in Kathmandu in Nepal. So in this case, you can start your social out there. I'm going to bring Kathmandu straight to Aberystwyth going through. Other things I like to bring into this, how do you actually prepare into your social events? How do you prepare into peak performance in this case? Naturally, I'll just base off 3 simple things. Have you eaten well? Have you slept well? And are you hydrating enough? And I've put some topical memes in there for all the different generations in the room. Hopefully one of those resonates with you. Now getting to my favourite part. This is Aberystwyth. We are currently in the orange denoted dot, which is just in the middle of the screen, just there. This is every single venue in Aberystwyth that has a viable place that you can purchase alcohol from. Okay, just to show you it's a hell of a lot. If anybody's a tourist from outside of Aberystwyth, one of the draws apparently is the sheer amount of pubs we do actually have here. I've currently, my many years here, I've been here for about 12 years now, I've visited every single one but the one that's just recently opened. And I can say all of them, in my opinion, are brilliant. You just had some OBL takeaways. You've learned about the optimization or the optimum beer level, the optimum beverage level, okay? That is marginal utility theory. I've got you all. You've learnt some economics. Hopefully that feels better about your life. I certainly feel better because I get to do this as a job in my day-to-day. With this, that simply just means as you consume more of one unit of whatever respective good it might be, how much additional satisfaction do you actually gain from that? You know, having that extra shot, having that extra pint, or in this case, having the extra coffee or the extra gallon of milk. So with this, how are you now going to go optimize your sesh? Thank you.